Hi.
Hello, Alex for Gong. Can you give us your opinion about the end of the fight, Baki versus Doumbe?
Sure. So my understanding was that there was a splinter in Doumbe's foot, and anytime you appeal to the referee that you have an injury, the referee has a responsibility to protect you, right? He got a warning, you can't call a timeout yourself, and then the fight continued on for a few moments, and then same thing again. Back here, there was a brief conversation between the two fighters, and then Doumbe turned to the referee again. Now, I don't know how bad the injury was. I still don't know exactly what was in his foot, but like you've seen John Jones do post-fight interviews with a dislocated toe. He fights to the end of the fight. You cannot, at any point in the fight, turn to the referee and appeal that you have an injury. You can't stop the fight, and you can't even relocate a digit. So go back to my Anthony Johnson fight. I dislocated my thumb in the first round, and you'll see me put it back in the fight because I couldn't stop the fight. I can't call a timeout because of an injury, especially if it's something I have to fight through because it wasn't something caused by my opponent. It's disappointing, but we have to do a rematch.
And second question, with this result, could we see another PFL Paris in a few months?
I think we absolutely will. We haven't got the championship booked yet. We don't know exactly where we're going to be for the championship event, but that's partly because we feel like we're going to need to go bigger again. And I think after this, we might have to have a super event in Paris. That was the biggest event France has ever had. I think we can go bigger again.
In a bigger area?
In a bigger arena, in a I don't know what, but we've got to go bigger. We sold 16,000 tickets in a few moments for this. We could have sold that 2-3 times over just with Doumbe. You had Doumbe, you have Baki, you have the Lazy King, you have a few more superstars that France has got to offer. It would be one of the best events that Europe has ever seen, if not the best event.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Why elbows are still not allowed in the PFL?
That, my friend, is a good question. If there's one person that loves elbows, it's this guy. I am working to get elbows added back into the rules. I feel like it would align us with mixed martial arts as a whole. And of course, now we've acquired Bellator. Bellator has elbows. Anytime the PFL fighters are going over to fight Bellator fighters, I feel like they'll be at a disadvantage. So I want to make sure that we can add elbows back in as soon as possible. These things take a little time, but I promise you guys, I am pushing for that change.
Just a question. What do you say to people who think that or say that the referee stopped a bit early in the fight?
I understand that a part of that is disappointment, right? I wanted the fight to continue. I wanted 5 rounds, right? After we got the first 2 rounds, I'm like, oh, can we add 2 more rounds to this? But the reality is the referee, Mark God, I've known Mark for a long time. Before we were friends, he refereed 14 of my fights. Like, he's a very, very good referee, one of the best in the world, and he holds a very high standard. He knows the refereeing criteria, and he knows that if a fighter appeals to him that he has an injury, he has to intervene. I was surprised, to be honest, he didn't do it the first time. So when he said to Doumbe, you can't call a timeout, you've got to continue, and then there was a brief pause and then he turned back to the referee, Mark Goddard couldn't have done anything else.
Dan, firstly, congratulations on another monumental event, breaking records every time we come to a new arena. Roller coaster of emotions, obviously, throughout the whole card. We started off with three stoppages in quick succession. For you, was there any standout performances?
Oh man, I mean, it's difficult to pick a standout performance. To be honest, I mean, the regular season fights were fantastic. I thought Conor Hughes' rear uppercut was incredible. Yeah. Daniel Misselli with a Von Flue choke. I mean, we got some very rare submissions tonight. You know, inverted heel hook, a knee bar, a Von Flue choke. It was wild. And then you've got the beautiful grappling scrambles between Jack Grant and the Lazy King in the end. Honestly, the two guys that really stand out to me, Patrick Haberora, just the way that he electrified the crowd when he came out, and Islam Masraf. Like, that was a really odd fight. But if you've watched Mikhail Grogu fight before, you know he does that. He walks around the cage like you need to come to him so he can hit you and knock you out. And people aren't going to play that game with him, right? He wasn't really paying attention in the corner. Mark Goddard had to go, hey, pay attention. Yeah. And then when the fight started, I don't know whether he was a little bit too overconfident because the guy was a lot smaller than him. Because, you know, Masraf came in, 216 pounds. Yeah. He's actually called out Johnny Eblin, who's a middleweight. So that tells me that Masraf's going down 2 weight classes. Mm-hmm. But the advantage here he had was his speed, right? And in that moment where Mikhail Grogu had his hands down, as soon as he saw the hip flinch, he started to bring his hand up. It just wasn't quick enough. This is why we keep our hands here, so we can go here, instead of having our hands here, so we have to go all the way up to our head. He was just never going to beat that speed. And I mean, we went through so many opponents for Grogu. Everybody was interested in this guy, but nobody wants to fight him. He was only 3-1. Mashraf stepped up on a week's notice. He's like, I'll go up to heavyweight. I'll take on this guy that's terrifying everybody in the division. 10 seconds, head kick knockout. Beautiful.
Nice. And then what's next for Kay Musa? Obviously, he came up short today. I thought it was a really good performance by him coming against the 2023 lightweight champion. What have you got in store for him? Is there still another chance potentially for another fight this year?
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of Kay Musa. You know, he was the only person that volunteered to fight the returning champion in the first regular season fight. A lot of fighters they want to get a win under their belt, right? They want to well, let me get this regular season one out of the way, and then I'll fight the really tough guys next time around. Kay Musa told me in December that he wanted Kasuba, and you know, to jump in there in the regular season, first fight in the PFL, he takes on the returning champion, and he gave a great performance. I'm a big fan of Kay Musa, and we will definitely see him on one of the shows later in the year. I have a few ideas of a matchup, and of course it will be outside of the tournament brackets this time around, but I got some good ideas for you guys. You know, I love this matchmaking job, and I've got a good matchup for him, I think. Yes, sir.
Cedric told us just maybe you want to fight 17 May here in Paris for the Bellator card.
Okay.
Is it possible for you, think?
That'll be a conversation I'll have with the Bellator team. We work closely, but Bellator still functions as its own thing, but those matchmakers have done a great job with that card. If Doumbe fits on the card and it makes sense, then absolutely we'll add him to it. That's a conversation for me to have with the team, though. I'll get back to you on that one.
And do you think you can organize so fast the revenge back here?
I think so. I mean, I feel like this needs resolving. You know, even if Baki went on to fight somebody else, as impressive as he was in this fight, it feels unresolved. So if he fought anybody else, it wouldn't be quite as interesting, I don't think. I feel like this needs resolving. And honestly, after 2 rounds, I felt we need 25 minutes for these guys to separate them. This is a championship level fight between 2 young prospects that are still coming up. We need some kind of cool belt or something to go with it, I think. Big stadium show, rematch, stack the card with superstars, and let's blow the roof off it again.
And Baki just say you want to fight the best, maybe the UFC. What's your plan of the PFL for Baki?
We'll see what Baki wants. You know, he's his own person, and he takes one fight at a time. I respect that as a fighter. He has high hopes. He has big expectations of himself, and I think, you know, you look at what he's capable of at 22 years old. You look at his physicality. I mean, it's Baki and Bruce Lee, right, with the back muscles. It's incredible. Whatever he wants to do, he's going to do it with a great amount of skill and composure. I was very, very impressed with him tonight. We'll be speaking. I'll be trying to get him back in those PFL gloves very soon, but who knows? The future is very bright for the young man.
Is there a possibility that PFL goes to Belgium, maybe with Patrick Habibova as a main event?
I think that might be a destination for us in the future, yes. I've not seen many fighters have the kind of impact on social media that Habibova did. When he won his pro debut, of course, I'm sure most of you know he blew up my social media and was chasing for a matchup on this card. And I was aware of him. I've been watching this guy for a while, of course, coming through the amateur ranks. He's a very, very special fighter. And I think that we saw, you know, a lot of his game tonight because he had a very tough opponent in Claudio Pasea. Very proud of that individual as well. He gave a great showing. And, you know, both of those guys are on the rise. They may cross paths in the future. Who knows? But, again, you know, another real exciting talent that's coming out of Belgium. And there's a few more guys as well from his gym and other ones. I have a Belgian fighter on the Newcastle card, which I'll be announcing very soon as well. A veteran, though, someone that I've been watching for many years that I'm a big fan of. So, yeah, I think Belgium's in our future for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Any more?
There's one more. Yeah, what does that loss do for Cedric's stock? And is there a potential that we still might see him against Jackson for the Bellator title?
You know, I think so. I don't really think it does too much to Cedric's stock, to be honest. I mean, when you fight on a stage like this, anything that happens that's kind of unusual and a little bit controversial, you always add that caveat, right? Anybody that looks at Doumbe's record, they're not going to go, oh, you've got a loss to Baki. They're going to go, that was the fight that was stopped because of the splinter. So it has a story attached to it, and that's the benefit in fighting on these kind of stages, is that it's not just a loss on his record that people can see. People know the story associated with that loss. And he had 7 losses in his kickboxing record. You know, he was still a mega star, a 2-time world champion. And I just, like, you saw the smile on his face. I don't think anything keeps Doumbe down. He still believes he's the best, and he's still determined to prove that. And I'm looking forward to him getting back out there very soon.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Nice
Appreciate
one.
you.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming.